Thank you very much. I want to begin by saying it is great to be here at Fairview Elementary with the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. And honestly, the Secretary has been here several times to the state of Illinois, and most importantly, he's come right to schools to meet the kids and teachers. And here we are at an after-school program, Scope, that's also got engagement with the community and, very importantly, with the kids who really need the after-school program. And by the way, great kids, and the teachers who are operating the program are second to none. So I'm pleased to have you here, Secretary, and of course I want to say to everybody, thank goodness we have a Secretary of Education and Department of Education in Washington that's doing a great job of lifting up our schools and, most importantly, our students all across the nation.
Thank you so much, Governor. I really appreciate that. You know, we're doing a tour called Raise the Bar, Lead the World, because that's how we look at education now. You know, opening the doors and turning the lights back on is insufficient. We need to raise the bar. We need to lead the world. And I'm here today, you know, thank you, Governor, for being here. More importantly, thank you for the focus on education that you've had as Governor. Early childhood education, supporting programs like this one, supporting pathways. Look, we have an opportunity in this country to elevate outcomes for our students in literacy, numeracy, and conditions for learning, and mental health supports, ensuring that our teachers are fairly compensated, and then we address the shortage of teachers across the country. We have an opportunity to create college and career pathways in our high school that connect our 2-year programs, 4-year programs, and our workforce with all the Invest in America policies that have been passed. And I'm excited as we open school for another year to really talk about what our plan is. There's a lot of people that want to create division in education. I want to talk about our plan, what we're doing to raise the bar across the country, give students an opportunity to be successful. And that includes after-school programs. That includes partnerships with community assets like the Boys and Girls Club, making sure that students have a safe place to go after school, where they can learn, grow, and continue to follow their dreams. I'm excited to be here. Love being around students. That climbing wall almost had me. I couldn't do it. But again, you know, I want to thank the educators and the leaders that are here for committing to the students and giving them a best shot to succeed. Happy to take some questions.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for the opportunity.
Sure.
In the future, you might say, it all goes back to when I was in Springfield, Illinois.
That's right.
In September of 2023. Now, what might that thing be that you'll be talking about?
I talk a lot about intentional collaboration. You know, there are parts in this country that they're starting to figure that out. You get that here. This is not my first time in Illinois, and when I come here, I always see great things happening. Today, for the after-school program, I see the use of 21st century federal dollars, American Rescue Plan dollars, state and local funding to create an after-school program for students so they can get more. Because if we do what we've done, we're going to get what we've got, and our students need more. So intentional collaboration is visible here, and that's something that we want to lift up.
Governor Secretary, you talked about the ongoing issues around the classroom, the politicalization of the classroom that you mentioned.
Sure.
Just today, U.S. Congresswoman Mary Miller from Southern Illinois here said, quote, Governor Pritzker and Secretary Cardona oppose parental rights and believe young children should be indoctrinated with radical gender ideology. First, your response to that quote, and second, how do you reverse that? How do you keep the political battles away from a classroom full of kids?
Just hang out with students, see what's happening, listen to students, listen to teachers, listen to parents. You know, that type of behavior, I wish it was here. That type of behavior is what I think is an intentional attempt to disrupt public education. Parents are done with that. They want to, what is your plan to help students achieve at a higher level? What is your plan to give students access to higher education without having to be caught in debt for the rest of your life? We have a plan. Raise the bar, lead the world. That's our plan. We're not going to get distracted with naysayers that don't have they don't even have a plan. They just want to disrupt what's happening. When I talk to parents, when I talk to educators, and when I talk to students, they're not thinking about what she's thinking about. They're thinking about what opportunities they have. And it's our job to make sure that we have a clear plan for academic success for our students, for pathways into college and career, and that we stay true to that plan. We're not going to get distracted with nonsense.
Secretary,
Governor
some of the
Pritzker, do
proficiency
you have a
rates in
response to
Illinois
that?
are pretty low, about 7%, I think, in Decatur for third grade readers. Math's pretty low as well. I don't know the exact numbers,
Right.
but there's some single digits, some really low double digits. You talk about raise the bar. How can Illinois do that?
Yeah. Well, across the country, and I know, Governor, I'll give you an opportunity. You want to?
I do. I just want to respond. I mean, remember, we set our own standards state by state by state. So when Florida claims, for example, to have more kids that are at reading level, at a grade level, they set their standard low. And they, guess what? They exceed it. We set our standards high in Illinois, and we want our kids to strive, and our parents and our teachers to strive for those high standards. So it's improper to use those kind of statistics against the state of Illinois. Look, we always want to do better. We want our kids to do better. And in fact, we've invested in doing that in the state of Illinois. And I want to credit the federal government, because in the face of COVID-19 and all the challenges that parents, teachers, schools faced, they stepped up to the plate and they helped the state of Illinois, not to mention every state in the country, to address any learning loss that occurred.
Governor Pritzker, what are some of those specifics that you're going to do to get those students back up reading and back up math? What has Illinois done specifically with investments?
Well, we've been at this for several years now. As I took office in 2019, very importantly, we were underfunding schools that were most in need. And so we've changed the trajectory of that with the evidence-based funding model, sending more money to schools that need it most. And very recently, in fact, in this fiscal year right now, we've now sent more dollars to those schools, to the 170 schools that are have many, many teacher vacancies, to help them attract teachers in whatever way a school district can. And I think every school district is a little bit different, where they're going to attract those teachers from, how they're going to do it, what they need to provide. Sometimes it's housing, sometimes it's a stipend. Sometimes it's something else, and we want those school districts to make those decisions. So more and better teachers, and making sure that we're investing in the schools that have been left out for so many years.
Can you speak to Title IX? There's concerns even the.
Why don't we let John take one here?
To follow up on these questions, Secretary, when is it too much for schools? I mean, schools, when you and I went to school, we weren't fed, we didn't have scope after school. We're in school now, we have security officers. There's a fear of violence in our schools every day. Teachers and educators are asked to do so much beyond just teaching. And how can we, maybe it's no wonder why, Illinois or America, if you look at world scores, the other countries are way ahead of us in math and some other subjects. At what point,
Yeah.
Is it too much for schools?
Look, I was a fourth grade teacher. I was a school principal, a district leader, state leader. Now I'm fortunate to serve as Secretary of Education. When a kid is hungry, you feed them. When they have housing insecurity, you try to connect the dots. When they're not well, you take care of whatever those needs are. Because their ability to learn increases when their basic needs are met. And you're right, there's greater need in our schools, which is why programs like this one today are critical. Because we're not asking our teachers to do it alone. We have the Boys and Girls Club partnering with this district. We have after-school programs that allow our teachers to go home to their families. I hear you. There is more asked of our schools, which is why it's really important that our schools are connected to community assets, which is why it's important that we invest in mental health supports, to have social workers in our schools so our classroom teachers could teach reading, writing, math, right? So this is what we're doing in the Biden-Harris administration. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act provided $2 billion for social emotional well-being, mental health support, so that our classroom teachers could teach whatever their subject are. But across the country, we've normalized the fact that there are 500 students for every school counselor. And when students are facing trauma, especially after a once-in-a-100-year pandemic, we need to meet them where they are. And I'm pleased to see that this school, this district, and this state is a leader in that. And, we're talking about raising the bar, leading the world. I'm going to places where I can lift up examples of what's happening. This after-school program is an example of what we need to see across the country to meet students where they are. Because as much as we say, well, that's not our job, what happens when they come to school and they put their head down because they're starving? You know, as a father and as an educator, I want to make sure I take care of that child, and that's what our schools are doing.
Wait, one question right over here.
Governor, we're going to be losing federal COVID money next year. Some of that's gone to pay for tutoring, for after-school programs, for extra academic, social, emotional support staff. Is there a plan in place once that runs out for the state of Illinois to help step in and keep up those bolsters?
Well, again, it's supposed to be a temporary program to help particularly with overcoming learning loss, and we continue to expend those dollars. In fact, I was just talking to the superintendent about after-school tutoring here at this school in particular, which is vitally important for a number of kids. We have a plan, and that is to continue to fund our education system more properly every single year so that the decisions about what a school district needs get to be made by the school district and by the individual schools and teachers themselves. During my term as governor, we've increased funding in the state for schools by $2 billion. That's a significant amount on top of what had been about $9 billion going to schools. And we're going to continue to do it. And again, it's with the specific endeavor of lifting up the kids who are left behind. Because we know there are school districts where they are fully funded. They're able to take care of the programs that they need to continue. But in many school districts, that's not the case. And we just can't let that continue.
Thank you
Secretary,
so
can you
much.
address